Radios, it's time for another edition of the Dixie State University Red Storm Roundup with the host of The Drive on ESPN Sports Radio 106.1 FM, weekdays 4 to 6, Devin Dixon. I am John Potter, as we've got a lot of stuff to get to and not a lot of time to do it. And Dev, football on the docket on the road at Central Washington, a great game that came down to the final buzzer. A couple of soccer matches over in the Bay Area, volleyball on the road and home so far this week. A lot of stuff to get to. Oh, and a conversation with our man, Jeff Clough.
Jeff's going to be here? Can't wait till Cloughie gets on set.
We may have to restrain him. I'm just saying. Cloughie, you never know with that guy. But let's go ahead and let's get started with the football game up in Ellensburg, Dixie State and Central Washington. The games have not been close in the series over the last 3 or 4 years, and Dixie State had a lead at the half, had a lead at the end of the third quarter, had a lead midway through the fourth quarter, only to see Central Washington on their homecoming in front of 4,700 people come back and get a field goal at the end of the game to win 27-24. Dev, I was there. You can probably tell better than I did listening to the ball game back here at home how disappointed I think I was calling the game and for all the fans watching and listening at home.
Yeah, there's no question. There was a lot of disappointment. I said this was not a must-win. That was 2 weeks ago. But I said this is a game where we had to go out and compete, and we did. And so they can take some pride. There was some correctable mistakes that really cost the Red Storm in this game, and it was frustrating. It was demoralizing, and I wouldn't have wanted to been on that bus coming home because that's one that probably slipped away. And when you haven't won in Ellensburg and you drive on a bus over 20 hours and you're that close and you can taste victory and it slips away, that's a tough pill to swallow. That said, though, next 2 weeks at home, it's going to be exciting. This team is so much better. They've come so far in the last 4 weeks of the season. The rough start to start, and now we're really competing with anybody in the GNAC. And now the second time through is coming. But, yeah, it was frustrating, JP. It was tough. The block kick, that was brutal. You know, some missed opportunities on fourth down when he went for it in the first half. I mean, you could look back on that game, and there was 5 to 7 big plays that were really tide-turning plays that didn't work out for the Storm, and that if they had, it would have been a completely different ballgame.
We're going to break down the game a little bit more in a future segment with highlights from Ellensburg as well. But the question is, and we're going to, of course, break that down, you have a 300-yard passer, a 100-yard rusher,
again,
2 100-yard receivers, and you end up on the losing side of the ledger. The offense lived up to it. The defense played as great as they have over the past couple of weeks, especially in that first half. But as you'll see in the highlights, some kind of momentum-changing things hurt the Red Storm on that one. Again, lots to get to with footballs. We'll break down that entire game and then get you ready for the second go-around, as Devin said, as the Red Storm get ready to host Western Oregon. A little bit about the soccer teams. Women still doing great. We'll hit the capsule coming in. Great trip to the Bay Area.
They kind of carried the mantle this past week.
They absolutely did. The men on the other side going to San Francisco, finding a little bit of difficulty over in the Bay Area, maybe a little bit of frustration. We'll hit on that capsule as well. Some cross country over in San Diego. Volleyball going, starting out great. And then they made the trip to Southern California. We'll, of course, hit on that and find out where the Red Storm stand after that trip, as well as a game last night against Notre Dame Dana Muir. But the big topic, of course, will be football. And I'm still trying to figure out how you can have all those individual accolades, record-setting performances, and still come up with a loss.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. You know, there's no question. It's not easy to go to Ellensburg, look at the past series since they started playing the D2 era back in 2008. And there's a monkey on the Storm back, and eventually they're going to get a win in Tomlinson, and this could have been it, but it wasn't, so we have to wait till next year for that win to come.
Yeah, normally blowouts in Tomlinson. This year, a close game, and we'll have highlights from that contest as well as break down individual stuff right after this on the Red Storm Roundup on CEC TV.
Another thing we have is our compounding section here. We brought it out front to let you watch as they are making the different compounded prescriptions, whether it's troches, lollipops, creams, capsules. It's fascinating to watch it, and they can do that here, and yet it's very safe and no one's going to be harmed.
Friendly service and a pharmacist who knows you by name. Stapley Pharmacy, your complete family pharmacy. We'll have you out the door in 10 minutes.
Why is Salisbury Homes the #1 builder in Southern Utah? It's simple. Unmatched quality, more selection, and happy homeowners. You'll love seeing prices less than buying an existing home. Amazing locations and a 45-day build schedule. The time to build is now, before prices go up. And with Salisbury, choose from dozens of floor plans, all beautifully designed, and you pick your own colors and finishes. Visit alwaysaffordablehomes.com today or call Kim 801-404-6041.
Salisbury Home.
Welcome back to the Roundup. Devin Dixon and John Potter back with you as we will dive into the highlights of Saturday's game in Ellensburg. Dev, first half looks great. Second half, not so much. So let's go ahead and dive into the highlights from Tomlinson Stadium over in Ellensburg, Washington. We'll start in the first quarter. This is Dixie's first defensive possession. The Wildcats have marched down the field, and Jordan Todd, the tailback, 22, right in the middle of the screen, is going to get the handoff from the redshirt freshman quarterback, Jake Nelson. He's going to try to turn to the right side, go outside tackle, but Robert Metz comes in with one of his solo tackles, knocks the ball out, and the Red Storm recover. It leads to this, a Dylan Bischoff 22-yard field goal on the subsequent drive, Dev.
Yeah, and Dylan, he kicked those 7 extra points. And then lately, though, the kicking game, a little bit inconsistent, as you'll see later on.
Here's the second Central Washington turnover on a play action, a little screen pass to the tight end, Tyler Stump. Marquise Galway knocks it out, and Jake Duncan covers it up at the 1-yard line. This led to the longest drive for Dixie State. Miles Burton setting up. You're going to see a blitz coming in from Central Washington's number 31 on the near side, and Griff Robles really does a nice job reading the option well here, finding Miles Burton, who then pops through the hole and runs for 53 yards.
Wow, yeah, that's a split second you have to make that, maybe even less, and he made the right decision, and he's getting better with that read. They're really trusting Griff to make the right read.
This is in the second quarter as well. Storm are up by 10 points here, and Jodan Duncan in the slot on the near side is going to set the single-season touchdown record with his 10th. It's just going to be a little post beating the safety on the inside, and Griff finds one of his favorite receivers. So he gets a good snap, good protection, and fires right over the middle.
Yeah, Jodan, when you give him one-on-one and you throw it on his hands, there's nobody going to be able to go through and disrupt that and break that pass up.
Here's the second half. Miles Burton, the run that put him over 100 yards, 21 yards right up the middle to the 50-yard line. And that set up this field goal attempt on a 12-play drive, but as you see, a high snap. Bischoff's kick is blocked, and then the ball just kind of magnetized over towards Central Washington side of the field. It's fumbled 2 or 3 times before the Wildcats recover on the Red Storm 41.
Hard to tell if they actually gained possession, if the Storm would have been able to get back on that and maybe get the ball back, but instead a huge swing of momentum in that play.
This is where the Wildcats took the erased the deficit for the Red Storm. Nelson with the keeper runs for 13 yards, his first touchdown of the year. You can start to feel the Wildcats getting momentum. The Storm bounced back. Here's the 23-yard touchdown pass to Mitch Fry. Robles evades the pressure, throws it off 1 foot, and actually throws it deep into the corner to Fry.
Yeah, Jodan Duncan was in the vicinity there too. It didn't matter. Mitch had the easier angle, and he was more open, and he made the play.
Here's the Wildcat answer. Jesse Zalk on kind of a Wes Welker play right in the middle of the field, ties it up at 24. Then this is the play that kind of put the Wildcats in field goal position. It'll be Zalk again coming from the right side into the middle of the field, evades the defense, gets inside the 30-yard line, and then the fateful field goal, 44 yards with 6 seconds left to go. The freshman Sean McDonald gets a good snap, a good placement, and boots it just inside the left upright for the Wildcats to win.
Saw the Storm trail with 1 second left at the end there for the first time all day, John. I mean, they hadn't trailed all day until that 44-yarder, and you saw in the first half, like you alluded to, I mean, it was a tale of two halves. And you look at this game and you break it down into offense and defense and special teams, and obviously there's work in all 3 areas, but the special teams really hurt the most, and the fourth down lack of conversions. If you go back to that first half, the whole second half as I'm listening, if we would have just kicked the field goal, I'm yelling at my radio and my wife's thinking I'm crazy, and if we would have converted that fourth down, I mean, there was so many woulda, coulda, shouldas, but they didn't, and it is frustrating. But again, to go into Ellensburg and to compete and really dictate the pace and really call the plays and dictate the style they wanted and have the 100-yard rusher and have Griff go bonkers again and make the right reads as you saw there on that handoff to Burton for the score, there's a lot of excitement even in a loss this week for Dixie Red.
Yeah, all the numbers point to the fact that the Red Storm should have won that ball game, and some individual numbers, we'll highlight them here, and then I have a feeling we'll highlight them again a little bit further on the show. But Jodan Duncan, his 10th touchdown reception, that breaks his record he posted 2 years ago as a junior for most in a single season. Jake Duncan needed 3 tackles to break the all-time Division II tackles record. He had 16, including 10 of them solo, to pass former Rebel football player Teddy Owens for the top spot there. And then, as you said, Griff Robles over 300 yards, Miles Burton over 100 yards rushing, Jodan and Mitch Fry both over 150 yards. The defense, who had allowed 418 yards per game, only allowed 341 to Central Washington. Again, it's kind of mind-boggling, but...
And they got turnovers.
They got turnovers, and still, a loss on the board. It is kind of frustrating, but it's a quick bounce back. The Storm will have 2 games in a row starting this week against Western Oregon, and then they'll have homecoming against Humboldt State, one of the teams that they have beaten so far on this season. So there still is a lot of excitement going into the final 5 games of the season for the Red Storm. We'll take a quick time out here on the Roundup. When we return, we'll hit the capsules for the other teams going on. Volleyball in California, soccer's in NoCal, and cross country in the beautiful San Diego area. That plus much, much more when we return on the Red Storm Roundup on CEC TV.
This is Titan 1-4. No signs of life.
Titan 1-4, hold your position.
What do you got?
Unmanned aircraft is identifying enemy sniper.
Copy that. Let's move. Thanks, Reaper 1-1. We got it from here. Sensors coming off target.
Learn more at airforce.com.
Welcome back to the Red Storm Roundup. As promised, we're joined by, well, a jack of all trades. His official title is the Director of Media Relations here at Dixie State University and the athletic department, but he does officiating, he's a father, he's my boss, so I guess I've got to be nice to him. Let's welcome into the program Jeff Clough. And Cloughie, you've been here, other than maybe our Hall of Fame inductee Ken Jolly, you're maybe the most knowledgeable in Red Storm history. I asked you after the football game, the win over Simon Fraser, is this how it used to feel? Is this how games used to feel going in and winning games and being on top and doing and having those good feelings? What was your answer? And kind of tell us the progression of how you've been here at Dixie State.
13 years. I'll start from the beginning. 13 years I've been here. Started just right before the 2004 season, and just really have enjoyed my time in media relations, seeing teams win, seeing the transition of everything that's gone on. The big thing you ask is, what did it feel like to win after a football game? Yeah, that was the way it felt all the time. You'd leave after a game and you'd have some from a little bit of extra energy and excitement, and it was easier to get your work done, even though you had to go to the office and spend a couple more hours. It was a lot of fun, and we miss those days, and it's good to see the football team returning to that point.
When you look at some of the fondest memories or marquee players that you've seen come through the Burns Arena doors or down to Hanson Stadium, what comes to mind? Who are some of those athletes maybe in days gone by?
Well, I mean, it's hard not to reflect upon the 2002 National Championship when I was a part-time statistician for the department. Seeing Jaime Ureta, those guys just dominate the 74-game winning streak in the Burns Arena. Seeing it lost on a last-second shot against Eastern Utah, only to then win another 13 home games in a row. To see the 2004 National Championship team and go through that whole process of winning a national championship with Coach Littlewood in Grand Junction.
How good's your memory? Can you name all the starters from that 04 baseball team?
It's pretty good, but I'm not sure I'm that good. 10 years, it's the anniversary, 10 years this year. So I could probably name eight or nine of them. But that process of winning was always there. Seeing the soccer national championship in 2003, and then going through the transition and see the difficult times that our coaches have gone through, and to see where we are now versus where we were back in 2006.
You mentioned the transition. Expound on that. What do you think have been the most influential reasons why some of the programs, namely football and women's basketball to a sense, have not succeeded as they did in the levels of the junior college days?
I think the biggest thing is the level of competition is so much greater. I always have made the argument, as a football team, how did we do? What were some of the things why were we so successful as a junior college? Some of it was the competition we were playing. The Snow Colleges and the Rickses and the Arizona Westerns, and those guys were always dominating, and we did fairly well against them. But all the other teams we played, not so good. Now it's pretty level playing field. Occasionally you get a scrub, but for the most part, it's difficult. The second thing is, it's just sheer money, in my opinion. I think it takes a lot to win. It takes a lot more infrastructure, and with the way we struggled originally with the number of degrees and where we are now, it's made a big difference.
Talk about what your butterflies are going into a game. Do you still have that sense? Because you were on the squad on the baseball team with Coach Littlewood here at Dixie Junior College when it was a JC. What are those kind of issues that you still have, that excitement you still have getting ready to stat a game or just be as the overall ambiance of a ball game here at Dixie?
Well, just I'm not sure it's nerves, but it's just sheer, it can be sheer panic if something that hasn't gone right in my preparation, and that's really what it's all about, preparation. If I follow my same path every time that I prepare for a game, it's going to be okay. Don't usually get very nervous.
I'll tell you what, folks, Jeff Clough right here. If you need a charger for your computer, you need a wireless microphone fixed, if you need anything at press row at Dixie State, he's the guy to talk to. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Devin.
Jeff Clough joining us on the Red Storm Roundup. Again, if you see him at a table in an arena or a stadium nearby, just say hi and thank him for all of his service. We'll be back with our sports capsules for volleyball and soccer's right after this timeout.
If you're in pain, give us a call. We use the latest technology to get you pain-free within 6 visits.
If we get you in early, we can actually help reverse the effects of the car accident now versus waiting and having to do more treatment.
This is Dr. Justin Poppy. Dinner and a movie on the doctor. Call now for a free consultation.
You're no dummy. Accidents hurt. You need to get in today or tomorrow to be pain-free. I'm Dr. Justin Poppy, 656-2888.
We've been in business for 27 years. Our specialty, of course, is pizzas. We have calzone salads, pasta. We use whole milk mozzarella cheese. I think the most important thing that makes good pizza is the crust, and then the marinara sauce, and then fresh toppings.
It's great food. The price is reasonable. You come and try it. I promise you, you'll love it, and you'll come back.
Just come into Roy's and give us a try. It will be the best pizza you'll ever eat.
Time for our weekly update of volleyball, soccer's, and cross country with our out of sport capsules. Let's start first with the volleyball team. We had Coach Robin Felder on a couple of weeks ago, and the Red Storm started out great, 6-0 in conference. Then they hit a snag, their first loss here at home against Azusa Pacific. And then, as you can see on the graphic, the SoCal trip was not kind. Swept by Cal Baptist, swept by Point Loma, even though they battled to a 30-32 game number 2 score. And then the Cougars found revenge again with a 3-0 sweep at Azusa Pacific. So to go from 6-0 to then 6-4 on the conference, you see on the graphic Monday night against NDNU, we are happy to report the Red Storm got back into form and they basically killed NDNU, beating them in 3 straight, 25-13, 25-18, and 25-13. And that was with a team hitting percentage in game 1 of .480. You say that in volleyball, that's ridiculously high. So a nice bounce back for Coach Felder and the women's volleyball team.
Yeah, they didn't like getting swept, you know. That doesn't feel good, but let's try that out and turn it around and flip it on its head. That's a big win, you know. And this is where you find out what your team's made of as far as moxie and grit and toughness and determination, because it's tough, you know, you're on the road, you're just with your team, there can be a lot of distractions, and you're in somebody else's gym, and it's loud and noisy, so to bounce back and get that win and right the ship. 7-4 now in conference, JP, they're not out of the mix in the Pac-West.
They've got some tough Hawaii schools coming in, as well as one of the top teams in the nation in BYU Hawaii, so it should be some good matches. Some individual numbers in that NDNU win. Maddie Rex and Nicole Kohler both had 11 kills. The Red Storm out-hit NDNU 278 to 073 in hitting percentage. So pretty much a domination and a nice win for the Red Storm. They'll be back in action Saturday in the Student Activity Center against Holy Names at noon. Shifting to Northern California, where our soccer teams were in action this past week. And for men's soccer, unfortunately, the slide continues. A 3-1 loss to Holy Names in Oakland, where there were some red cards and yellow cards filled out, as well as As you see there on the graphic, Monday at Academy of Art, another loss for the Red Storm. They had the first goal thanks to Nadav Elimelech, who had 2 over the weekend, but then they surrendered the next 4 goals, dropping a 4-1 defeat to Academy of Art. So for the Red Storm, maybe a hunt for a conference championship is not there, but still over the next 4 or 5 matches, including the next 3 at home, a chance for the Storm to kind of build at the end of this season with the youth that they have for next season.
You know, I think Coach Ortiz likes his team, but I think he knows it's kind of a rebuilding year. He's got a young squad, and it's going to take some time. And you'd like to see them finish the second half of the season strong. You know, it's been disappointing. They haven't won as many as they'd like, but now you should be playing beyond your freshman grade or your sophomore level. Right. So this is where you really start to see improvement and find out what you've got for next season and find out who's going to be big contributors, and you don't quit on a game. And let's see if we can get some wins down the stretch.
Speaking of wins, the women also in the Bay Area for conference play, and they came out with a couple of W's, going to Holy Names, dropping a goal in the first set, but then having Jen Mason and Ashley Wade come up with the goals in the second half to beat Holy Names 2-1. And then those two connected again, beating Academy of Art yesterday in double overtime. Wade had the early goal in the equalizer in the second half, and then Mason, with just a couple of minutes left to go in the second overtime, gets the golden goal for Dixie State. And you're talking about a team that maybe didn't have a lot of expectations with Casey Bingham in her first season, but the Red Storm are right in the hunt of it with the teams that are ahead of them, the Cal Baptists, the Azusa Pacifics, and the Point Lomas, all ahead of them waiting for the next 2 at home and then Cal Baptist on the road.
You know, and I don't know Coach Bingham that well, but what I do know about her and what I've heard at the Booster Luncheons when she speaks to the crowd is she is used to winning, and she's bringing that winning attitude to Dixie. And she's got a young squad, an experienced squad too. She set realistic goals for them, and they're playing fantastic. They're probably the one program that's over-exceeding expectations so far this year in fall sports.
And we'll have the calendar for those soccer matches at home coming up. Time to name our Athletes of the Week, presented by Northwestern Mutual. For the women's side, we head to the Lynx, and a great individual performance by Brittany Bisgrove as she tied her career low with a 75 in the second round of the Western Washington Viking Invitational.
That's
leading
your
the team.
9-hole score, JP.
It is. She's so good. It's amazing. A 75. She shot 77 in the first round. Individually, she went 5th, tied for 5th overall for the team. So Brittany Bisgrove gets our nod for the women. And for the men, it's hard to kind of determine between the 2 Duncan brothers. So we decided to give it to both of them this week.
The Duncan duo.
The Duncan duo. Career high 16 tackles for Jake, becoming the Division II all-time tackles leader here at Dixie State. And of course, Jodan with 150 yards and a touchdown, becoming the single-season Dixie State leader as well. So congratulations to our Athletes of the Week, Brittany Bisgrove, you try to say it 5 times fast, and the Duncan brothers from the football team. Quick timeout. We'll have the calendar as well as a quick preview of the football game against Western Oregon right here on the Roundup.
Okay, you're all set.
Wow, that was easy.
Man, I'm having a hard time working. I know, this Monday's killing me. Monday already? Man, what got into that guy?
Oh, he got high-speed internet from InfoWest.
Really?
It's making us look bad.
InfoWest, the internet people.
The more you ride bikes, the better life is. The deals from Bicycles Unlimited are rider-friendly. Since 1974, Southern Utah's premier bike shop has certified bike technician repairs, tires, tools, tune-ups, and more. With the largest array of bikes for all kinds of terrain. Their inventory is huge, with top brands, road bikes, mountain bikes, comfort bikes, all kinds of bikes. For maximum fuel efficiency, minimum pollution, or to maintain weight control, come to Bicycles Unlimited, downtown on the corner 90 South, 100 East. Don't forget a helmet.
For all of your calendar updates of upcoming Dixie State sports, we've got you covered here on the Roundup. For those who have forgotten, he's Devin Dixon. I am John Potter. Let's go ahead and hit the calendar for this upcoming weekend, starting first with our soccer teams, as they will be back at home in the friendly confines of Hanson Stadium. Both the men and the women facing the Cougars of Azusa Pacific. The women will kick off at 10 a.m. an early start, while the men will be at 10:30. For the women, a chance to continue their push towards a Pacific West Conference championship. For the men, a very tough test against a talented APU squad, but also a chance to try to get that win back at home, Dev.
Yeah, you got to get them where you can. You got to protect your home field, and so let's hope the crowds come out, pack Hanson, and make some noise, and you'll see some good soccer. I'm confident it's going to be close.
And if soccer is not your cup of tea, or you just want to spend the entire day at Dixie State, you're allowed to. It's okay. Volleyball also in action this week at the Student Activity Center after Monday night's win against NDNU. The Storm volleyball team will be at home Saturday at noon against the Hawks of Holy Names, a team that they've already beaten this year on a trip to the Bay Area, so a chance to get another big W and keep their pace in the Pac West. And then we cap off the day with the football game against Western Oregon, heard on ESPN Sports Radio with myself and Dev on 106.1 FM. Also online for all of our folks out of town at dixieathletics.com/showcase, and TV coverage with our friends Ryan Forsey and Justin Foreman on CEC TV. That's available on Baja Channel 22. So for volleyball, again, a chance to get a win. And then for football, a chance to get back on the right track against Western Oregon, looking for a revenge game, Dev.
Yeah, I mean, I remember back to my playing days, and anytime you have a very disappointing loss at one level or another, you know how it was. You played, right?
Yeah.
Gamebox, Xbox?
I was the master of juking on the Xbox. That's my claim to fame.
No, I mean, it's tough. Anytime you lose a game, and I'm talking football here, it's the thing you want to do is you get rested, and you want to get right back to work. And I'm sure practice today was good. I'm sure practice the rest of the week will be crisp. And I'm sure they'll be really hungry to get back out on the field. And I really think the next 2 weeks are very winnable games. I mean, if our offense keeps clicking and the defense plays opportunistic and they create turnovers and we can figure out a way to shore up a couple special team mistakes and improve on our 3rd and 4th down conversions, they might not be close. I mean, based on what I've seen the last couple of weeks, there's a renewed sense of confidence surrounding this team. They're like, hey, I kind of can get used to this winning streak. It's kind of fun. Let's keep it rolling. And I know they took a step back in the win-loss column last week, but I really think the rest of the season, you're going to see a very inspired, a very hungry Dixie State football team.
For those that don't remember the first matchup on September the 21st in Monmouth, 51-32, Western Oregon got the win on the heels of a 21-point third quarter where the Red Storm turned the ball over a couple times, didn't get the offense rolling. But that really was the week that Griff Robles turned the corner offensively and started this kind of push that he has been over the last couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how the Red Storm respond with Western Oregon only a game ahead of them in the conference, and the Red Storm just 2 games back of the leaders, Azusa and Central Washington, going to the second round robin tournament. It should be an awesome final 5 weeks of the season, Dave.
You know, and I want to see if Jake Duncan can outduel Jodon Duncan or vice versa this week. We gave him the joint player of the week, and Griff's been so great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Busy week on campus. The next couple weeks, lots of activities down here at DSU.
Next week on the show, we'll have all of your pre-homecoming festivities. We'll have the highlights of the Western Oregon game. We'll highlight how the volleyball team and soccer teams did at home over the weekend. And again, get you ready not only for Humboldt State, but all of the great homecoming festivities, as well as maybe a little sneak peek into basketball as they start official practices this week. Again, our thanks to Jeff Clough for joining us on the program. He's Dev, I'm John. Another solid episode, Dev.
Thanks, bud.
You've been listening and watching the Red Storm Roundup on CEC. We'll see you next time.
The preceding program was produced by the Community Education Channel and is available online free at vodov.com.